Hello everyone, it's your options guy. Welcome back to another video. Okay, so today's video we're going to talk about margin in Robinhood. Basically, how to use margin, or what is margin, what are the risks, how do I pay for margin, how to stop using margin, and what is margin maintenance / call. So basically, we're just going to go over like the five main key points that I think are the most important when using margin. And as you can see, I'm recording on my phone because I want to show you guys like actual examples from like the phone perspective of when you're using margin. Like, how do you go about in figuring out whether you're using margin or not, and how do you go about checking to see how much you owe and all that stuff. So I think overall this is going to be a great insightful video for gaining more knowledge in how to use margin. And overall, I think it's a good video because I know myself, when I first started investing, I didn't really know what margin was. I was kind of scared of how to use it at first, and all in all, I think this video is kind of like to help alleviate some like fears or answer some questions and stuff. But so before we get into it, I want to emphasize that I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just gonna go over basically getting information from how Robinhood explains margin and how to use it, and then I'll go into a little bit more detail on like what I would do, what not to do, and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm not a financial advisor. This is just for entertainment purposes, and I hope you guys gain good knowledge out of this video. So let's get into it. So let's start off by first asking the question of like, okay, how do you turn on margin? Like, how do you know if you're using margin or not, and how do you turn it on? So that's like the first question. So first of all, in order to be able to use margin in Robinhood, you have to have a gold member or be in the gold member status of Robinhood. So essentially you're basically paying that monthly fee of $5. So once you set yourself up with the gold membership, which I think I would recommend it myself, especially if you're doing day trades a lot, or if you're constantly like every paycheck or something, if you're putting money into buying stocks and stuff. I think overall it's good to have that gold membership status. But anyway, so once you do have that, basically I'm going to show you how to turn it on. So as you can see here, we're basically like on like the home page where it shows you like your portfolio, and as you can see, my buying power right there is $2,000. So that's buying power, as you should know already, is basically money that you have like in cash that you haven't basically put into stocks or anything. It's just sitting there. So overall, my portfolio is at 64,000. And basically, I don't have margin on right now. So if I want to turn it on, I click on the button all the way to the right where it shows like the portfolio. Click on that right there, and then it takes you to this menu side. So I think the best way to navigate to turn on margin is to click on that top right yellow icon. So then it takes you here. So as you can see, on this window, it says margin investing is off, and then it gives you more information like your monthly fee. That $5 monthly fee is once you have Robinhood Gold, and it tells you unpaid interest is $0 because again, I'm not using margin, and it tells you when's the next time you have to pay basically. And for me, it's on 4/11, which is coming up. And basically, I would have to pay the monthly fee, the $5, and any unpaid interest that I've accumulated with using margin. So let's go ahead and basically turn it on. So I have to click on the part where it says margin investing is off. Click on that, and then here it tells you basically like small information of like basically what margin is. So margin is money you'll borrow from Robinhood to either magnify your risk, or you could also magnify your losses. Just so you know, basically it tells you here that it's a flat 2.5% interest, which is actually, in my opinion, I think it's really good. It used to be 5%, so they cut that down like 50%. I think that's really good. And then also tells you that the first $1,000 that you use on margin are already included, so you'll just pay interest on anything you borrow above 1,000. So we'll kind of go more into detail about that. But so anyways, this is what the screen looks like for me. I know when I first started trying to opt in for margin, I had to set up like kind of like a questionnaire type of thing, because Robinhood wants to know like what type of trader you are or investor you are. So they'll ask you like a series of questions before you're even able to use margin, and then based on your answers, they'll figure out if you're able to use it or not. So in my case, I've already been using margin on and off. So if I want to turn it back on, I just go down here and it says turn on margin. So once I click on that, it tells you checking eligibility. It just confirms your identity, your profile, all that information, and then it comes up with a number, spits out a number, and says, okay, this is how much margin you have available to use. So quick things. Let's say I had that 64,000. Let's say that 64,000 I didn't have in I wasn't using that money in any options or any stocks as of right now. So I just had a straight up cash 64,000, right? So if I turned on margin, basically I would have 64,000 times 2. So that's how much margin available I would have had if I didn't have any money basically in stocks and stuff like that already. But as you can see here, it says your available margin will fluctuate based on the value and volatility of your investments. So basically Robinhood only gave me this much amount of money because they see that I already have some money invested in some stocks that are a little bit riskier than other stocks and stuff like that, and options and stuff. So they're basically cutting the amount of money that I would have into this much amount total and stuff. So that's just so you guys know. Anyway, so once you do have margin available, as you can see here, you could also set a borrowing limit. So if you click here, set a borrowing limit. Let's say you don't want to use 91,000 because that'd be a little bit too crazy using up all the margin available. Let's say you only want to use like, let's say 5,000, right? So you can go ahead and set that borrowing limit right here in this page. So I think that's a pretty cool feature of Robinhood that they let you do that. Anyway, so going back, let's just confirm this. So once you confirm, you can see here at the very top says total margin. So that's how much margin you have available to use. So that doesn't mean you're using margin right away just because you turn it on. It doesn't mean you're using it. That's just the amount of money that you would be able to use. And this amount of money would actually grow depending if your portfolio grows, or it could also decrease if your portfolio decreases. So let's say next week all my stocks that I'm investing all go up, and that essentially would increase the total margin availability that I would have. So it would probably go from 91,000 to like 95 or something, right? But then again, if my portfolio keeps dropping, then the amount of margin I would have available to use would also drop. So as you can see here, also it says margin used is $0. Again, I'm not using this. I'm not borrowing any money as of right now. So that total margin is just the money that I have to use if I wanted to start using it, but I'm not borrowing any as of right now. And then it tells you the interest rate again is 2.5%, and that's a flat interest rate, which I think is good. And then again, if I wanted to disable margin, I can just click right there on the bottom, disable margin investing. Another way you could do it is, let's say we go back here, back to the home page. Actually, sorry, let me go back to kind of like how it started. There you go. So if we go back to the home page and then go back to all the way to the right button where it has the little person there, click on that. All right, and then from here, as you can see, sorry, let me go back. So this is kind of like where we started. Another way to view like what's happening with margin and stuff like that, you can click on the investing. So you can scroll all the way down. It tells you, your day trades and stuff that you're doing. And then there's a section down here that says margin investing now, because now that you have it enabled. So as you can see here as well, I don't have, I'm not using any margin. It says margin used $0. Margin maintenance, we'll go into that a little bit later, but just real quick, that's basically the amount of money that you need to have basically your portfolio needs to be above this amount, which is 17,000. If your portfolio ever goes below whatever the margin maintenance, then you'll get into margin call and stuff like that. But we'll talk about that more in depth in a minute. And then also it tells you options collateral. We'll also go over that section as well. And then it goes over your total day trade limit. You're probably asking yourself, okay, how come I have 188,000, but like your portfolio is nowhere near that? So I actually don't know how to answer this question, to be honest. I could only assume that, let's say I have 64,000 and I trade that whole 64,000 in one day, and then like I buy $64,000 amount of stocks, and then I day traded like probably 3 or 4 times, then I would probably hit my limit because I've been using the 64,000 that many times. So that's the way I interpret it. But anyways, let's keep going. So at the very bottom here, it tells you your next gold billing date. So again, you have to be a gold, have Robinhood Gold in order to use margin. And here it basically tells you, so monthly fee is $5. That's standard. $5, Robinhood Gold fee that they charge you every month. And as you can see, my next billing date is April 11th, because a lot of times people are asking, okay, how do you know when you have to pay up, with margin or, your gold membership? So it tells you right there. So mine's April 11th, and this is like, monthly. And then also, any margin that you used would also show up here. Any unpaid interest would also show up here. And then basically this would just tell you, like how much you have to pay on your next gold billing date. Anyways, so let's get into what are the risks of using margin. Okay, so we're back in the home screen. So if you want to learn more information about margin, like in depth, which we're going to cover here as well, the way you get to it is from the home screen. You go all the way to the right, click on the little person again, and then you click on that top right yellow thing, circle right there. And then from here, there's in the middle, it says learn more. But as you can see here, we have margin investing on, and we also have margin spending off. I'll talk about margin spending probably in another video, but so let's click on learn more. All right, so as you can see here, it kind of gives you like more information about like Robinhood Gold and a lot of other information, but we want to focus on the margin side. So we already covered what is margin investing, but if you wanted to read more in depth, you can go do so right here in this section. So now we're going to talk about what are the risks of margin. Let's suppose you have $2,000 in your account and own $4,000 of Meow, right? So $2,000 is with your own cash and $2,000 with margin. So you're basically using up all the margin in this example. So you had $2,000 of your own money, and then you turn on margin, and then now you have $4,000 in total, and then you have all of this money into this stock called Meow, right? So if Meow decreases by 25%, your portfolio of Meow stock will drop to $3,000 in value. However, you still borrow $2,000 from Robinhood, and you need to pay that back. So that's just another thing you need to remember, is that whatever money you borrow, you need to pay back, right? So if your portfolio goes down, then not only do you have to pay Robinhood back whatever you borrowed, but your overall portfolio went down. So now if you were to try like selling stuff and everything to pay back Robinhood, then essentially your overall money that you would have is actually even lower than what it seems like. So in this case, it says since the value of your total portfolio is now $3,000, right? Because Meow went down. It says here, but you owe $2,000, so your account is actually worth $1,000. So as you can see, even though you started with $2,000 and the Meow dropped 25% when you were using Robinhood, even though it dropped 25%, your overall money that you started with was $2,000, and now you're only worth at $1,000. So essentially, your portfolio, it dropped 50%. So again, those are just the risks of using margin. They could definitely boost up your portfolio a lot, or they can definitely, like tank your portfolio. So just be very careful when you're using margin, and make sure you do extra research based on after this video. Make sure you do extra research and double check, like even more risk of margin, because there's some people who don't fully understand the risk in depth, and it just make sure you take this into consideration, the risks and rewards and stuff, before you start using margin. Okay, so the next topic is, how do I pay for margin? So usually this is like the most asked question, which develops into other questions like when's my next billing date, how much do I owe exactly, how is it calculated, stuff like that. So right here it basically kind of goes over a very thorough example. So it tells you here the first $1,000 of margin is included with your $5 monthly fee. So remember, in order to use margin, you're using Robinhood Gold as well. So you're being charged an extra $5 monthly fee. So if you decide to borrow more than this $1,000, then you'll have to pay 2.5% yearly interest on any margin used above $1,000. So basically it tells you right here. So the daily interest rate is 2.5% divided by 360. For example, if you use $3,000 of margin, we'll calculate 14 cents of daily interest. And it even tells you here how they basically calculated 14 cents that they're going to be charging you every day. So $3,000 is how much you want to use, right? So 1,000 of that is already included with your monthly fee. It's already included with the $5 monthly fee. So you're actually only borrowing, or not borrowing, but the interest comes from the $2,000. So as you can see here, they do $2,000 times the 2.5%, which is the interest rate, and they divide that by 360, and that basically gives you 14 cents that you're paying per day. And overall, 14 cents per day is actually not bad. It's almost essentially nothing, right, when you think about it. So here Robinhood is like, hey, you can borrow $3,000 from us and you're only going to be charged 14 cents per day. So this 14 cents will accumulate every day until your next gold billing cycle, which is basically every 30 days. So again, to get to that, you go back. Let's say you're back in the home screen. You go to the right where this person is. You click on that, and it should take you to the screen from right here. So if you click on investing and basically scroll all the way down, it tells you right here, margin investing, right? So right here, it would tell you margin used. It would say $3,000 basically. And then at the very bottom, it would tell you your margin used is 3,000. And then it would calculate the unpaid interest. And then basically it would be 14 cents every day, because even though you're borrowing $3,000, the 1,000 is already included. So it would only charge you 14 cents per day. And then you would see that 14 cents in that unpaid interest section all the way in the bottom. So every day you would see 14 cents being accumulated. So it would be 14 and then 28 and so on, right? And basically on your next gold billing date, for in my case it's April 11th, it would basically charge me the $5 plus the unpaid interest, right? So let's say, after 30 days, I'm trying to figure out exactly how much I would end up paying. So if you just do quick math and then you do 30 times 0.14, because that's just something to like calculate. So it would be something around $4.20 approximately that you would pay, right? So that's just a quick way of knowing how much you're gonna be ending up owing, every month essentially. So that's something that you could do. Okay, so let's say now you're asking yourself, okay, how do I stop using margin? Like, let's say you've already borrowed $3,000, but now you want to figure out how to stop using it. So obviously, you can't go to the margin section that we showed you, and then you can't just click on margin investing and disable it, right? If you try disabling it, it will give you like a error message saying like you basically have to pay this much amount back in order to disable it. So essentially, to disable or stop using margin, you need to pay back what you owe. So one way you could pay it back is, like, let's say you don't have $3,000, you could sell some stock or options or whatever you have in order to get that cash back out. And then once you've sold whatever, stocks or options, then the margin used would basically go back to zero. And then once it's at zero, then you can disable margin investing. Another thing you could do is basically transfer money to Robinhood. So let's say you borrowed $3,000, it would tell you margin use is $3,000. And basically, if you transfer $3,000, then it would say margin use is zero. And then at that point, you can disable margin investing. So recap, in order for you to disable margin investing, you have to either sell some stocks to get whatever money you need in order to pay back what you owe, or you can transfer over money from your own bank accounts to pay off what you owe, and basically get margin use to zero. And once you have margin use at zero, then you can disable margin investing. So in my case, I can go ahead and disable margin investing if I wanted to, and then boom, says margin investing is off. Okay, so now let's talk about margin maintenance. It's really important that you understand what margin maintenance is, so that way you can avoid a margin call. The worst thing that can happen to you, I would say, is probably getting a margin call. A margin call is basically saying, or Robinhood is telling you, hey, your portfolio has dropped, a significant amount, and it's dropped below this margin maintenance, and you either have to sell some stocks or you have to put more money into this account in order to basically avoid a margin call. And once you get a margin call, which is just like a message that will come to you if your account drops a lot below the margin maintenance, then Robinhood is basically saying, like, hey, you need to pay us back, or else if you don't pay us back within like 3 days, what we're gonna do is we're gonna sell some stocks that you have, or some options or whatever, and we're basically gonna sell it to get our money back. Now, unless if Robinhood changed some policy or something where they don't automatically sell the stocks or options that you have, which, as far as I know, that's what happens after 3 days if you get a margin call. Basically, it's a way for them to retrieve their money. But other than that, again, you don't want to get a margin call. Margin call is probably the worst thing that can happen if you're playing around margin. So again, just to make sure you don't get a margin call, just pay attention to this margin maintenance right here. So my case is $17,000. So I just have to make sure my portfolio doesn't drop, below that amount, because if it drops below that amount, then I most likely will get a margin call, and I have 3 days in order to get my account back up above this margin maintenance. So, I avoid any further repercussions or anything to happen, right? So just be aware of that. And overall, I'll try to make another video talking about more ways to use margin, like when you're buying stocks versus when you're buying options, and what's this option collateral section here that you see, and stuff like that, because there's definitely more information you need to know about margin. But I think this video just breaks down the very basics of what you need to know about using margin. And all in all, again, I would advise that you use margin with caution. The best way to use margin, I think, in my opinion, is to use it when you're waiting for your funds to deposit. When they're in the middle of like transferring over to your Robinhood account. That way you can turn on margin quickly, buy whatever you want to buy, or do whatever you want to do, and then by the time your funds finally come over, then that margin that you used will basically you pay it back, and then you're essentially not really using margin really in that scenario. So again, just be careful. And all in all, I hope you guys like this video. I know it was like a long video, but I feel like I kind of like cover the main things that you need to know about margin. So if you like this video, please give a like. If you have any questions or other stuff that you want to know about how to use margin, please leave it in the comments so that way I can, use those questions to kind of formulate like another video to go over that. So make sure to subscribe if you haven't already done so. I'll be covering more information about how to do options and stuff in Robinhood, and probably do like another margin video where it's more advanced and stuff like that. So make sure to subscribe. I mainly talk about what's going on with options and stuff like that, and I'll be covering more news on like favorite stocks that that I like. For example, like Palantir, and talk about ARK, AMD, Tesla here and there. So yeah, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.